Yes, welcome back on our interview segments on Morning Place this morning. We want to demystify, so to say, a popular ailment. It's always in the news, it's always here and there. And of course, it's giving people concern, but it is manageable, no doubt about it. And it's nothing to worry about. It is diabetes. And so diabetes demystified, so to say. We want to demystify diabetes today on this program, New Dawn. And we have as our guest from the Ministry of Health here in Ogun State, Dr. Damilola Olanipekun. Dr. Damilola Olanipekun, you're welcome.
Thank you so much. Good morning.
You look cool.
Thank you.
Cool. And radiant.
Thank you so much for joining
even
us.
With your cool, with your appearance, diabetes should be demystified. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Miriam.
Yes, welcome again to the program. But I need to quickly say that to our viewers that diabetes is not a death sentence.
Yeah.
We've had to interview a lot of diabetes patients, and they've been really amazing. You know, they have their stories. Some of these patients go as far as creating awareness to tell people that this is not a death sentence. Now, let's begin the conversation by you still giving us in practical sense. Remember, we are demystifying diabetes, breaking it down. What does it mean to a layman who is probably watching and do not really understand what this ailment means?
Okay, so diabetes simply means elevated blood sugar in layman terms. It's a disease of metabolic disorder. So the body needs sugar for fuel as energy. So what happens in diabetes is there's an hormone called insulin. So insulin helps, is like a key that opens when you eat. It goes through your digestive system, and then the glucose gets absorbed into your bloodstream. When it is in your bloodstream, the insulin is the key that opens, that allows the glucose to go from your bloodstream into the cell. So without that insulin, the glucose cannot move into the cell. So what happens is that when the glucose does not move into the cell, there is pile up of glucose in the bloodstream, which leads to diabetes. So diabetes can be caused by deficiency of insulin. The insulin is being produced by the pancreas in the body, but for some reason, maybe it's not enough. So because this insulin is not enough, the key, remember I said insulin is the key, so the glucose is not moving into the cell, or the pancreas that produces the insulin is not producing it enough, or the cells are not even responding to the insulin. So those are the things that can lead to this diabetes.
You've been able to...
Let me just add this. Hereditary or way of life, what can cause it?
So it goes two ways. So there are modifiable risk factors for diabetes, and there are non-modifiable risk factors. Modifiable risk factors in the sense that behavioral, lifestyle, you can do some changes and then it can prevent you from not having diabetes. While the non-modifiable is the genetics that you talked about, like family history of diabetes. There's nothing you can do about it. You're already born into that family, so you might be predisposed to having diabetes. It doesn't mean you would have it, but you might be predisposed to having diabetes. So those are the two range. It can occur two-way. It can occur two-way. There can never be family history.
Appearances show diabetes. Now, one can look at the three of us now and
Yeah.
say, they don't have diabetes.
So that's the thing.
And one can see somebody and suspect that if you don't take care of your weight, you are likely to have diabetes. Are they right?
Yes, with the weight. Because one of the, like I said, the modifiable risk factors, an example of the modifiable risk factor is obesity. When someone is obese, the person can be predisposed to having diabetes. But you can't see somebody and just know that this person is diabetic.
So you could be slim and still be diabetes and still have diabetes.
Yes, you could be slim and still have diabetes. So it's not written on the forehead that the person is diabetic.
So Miriam, make sure you do check up.
Oh my God.
Right.
You know, I don't know if it's a misconception or it's a fact. When people take too much of sugary stuff, for instance, soda, chocolates, ice cream, and they take it excessive, some people might want to point that, oh, you need to step it down, you are headed for diabetes. Is that correct, or is just some common?
Yeah, it is correct.
Especially in addition, and when you don't take sugar, you must also lose weight. You might be weak. You need sugar in your body.
Yes.
So where do we draw the line?
Okay, so everything is in moderation. So sugar, like I said, is the fuel for the body. So when you take sugar in excess, like I said, the insulin is already being produced by the body. So when you take in excess, there is a surge in the sugar level in your body. So the insulin that will produce will be much more than the normal level. So when the surge keeps happening, after a while, the cells will not respond to the surge in insulin or to the surge from the insulin anymore. So this glucose will keep piling up in the bloodstream, and then that can lead to diabetes. That's why people say when you take too much sugar, so sugar in quotes is not really the problem. Added sugar, like when you take carbonated drinks that have added sugar, when you add sugar to your drink and all those things, when you eat normal food in moderation, it doesn't lead to diabetes. Moderation is key.
Moderation, do you mean, because I know people, and I do it myself. Let's leave people out of this. I do it myself. I watch the kind of carbonated drinks I take and how many times I take them in a week. Sometimes I might be fortunate to have just visit someone, the person offers to me some of these carbonated drinks, and for the fact that I've probably had one for that day, I might just have to say, no, I don't want to do this. Are there some of the ways one can take precautions?
Yes.
And you're talking of moderation now, so if I take 2 in a day, is that moderate? If I take 1 in a month, is that moderation?
So, like I said initially,
or is it's totally a no-no for carbohydrate?
Yes, it is. So the reason why most people can't break free from carbonated drinks, some people take 2 or 3 in a day, is an habit.
Yeah.
So you need to break free from that habit. And sugar is very, very addicting. It's 8 times more addicting than cocaine. So you have to be intentional that I want to stay free from sugar. I want to stay free from carbonated drinks, because these are the things that can actually predispose to diabetes.
So what are the symptoms?
So the symptoms of diabetes, like I said initially, you can't see it. It's not written on the forehead. So before you start seeing symptoms, it's already showing that there are some organ damage in the body. So most of the time, initially, is asymptomatic. But the common symptoms you can see as the disease progresses include excessive thirst, excessive urination, fatigue. You are eating, but remember the glucose is not entering the cell. So the cell is still starving. So you have excessive thirst, excessive hunger, you have unexplained weight loss, because even though you are eating, the cells are not getting the food. You can also have unhealing wounds. You see people that have wounds that are not healing. Those people should get checked for diabetes, because it can actually lead to unhealing wound.
So diabetes, whether we like it or not, if not well managed, could lead to unforeseen circumstances.
Yes.
You just talked about wound now. Yoruba will call it Eguadaji, you know.
Yeah.
And at times it might lead to amputation.
Yes. So those are the complications and the morbidity that can occur from having diabetes. Like if somebody has a wound, for diabetic patients, they are advised to always wear their slippers around, because they might not have sensation on their limbs, like the feet and the arms. They might not have the normal sensation they are supposed to have. So when maybe they have an injury, they might not actually know they have an injury, because they don't have any feeling, they don't really feel pain from that wound. So, and when infection sets in, the wound does not heal, and then that can lead to amputation. And also diabetes can also lead to a disease called hypertension. So we call them the evil twin. So if someone has diabetes and the blood sugar is not properly controlled with medication and lifestyle, it can predispose to hypertension and vice versa. And it can also lead to kidney disease, it can lead to blindness, it can lead to nerve damage. So diabetes is something that can affect almost every organ in the body.
You have the records. So what is what is the situation within the people from the records you have? What destruction so far? We used to say, well, because of constant counseling, and people are getting more awareness, it's getting better. There are not too many diabetes patients here and there. Or you want to say, well, people are careless, it is growing, and people have to be careful. From the records,
Yes.
Ministry of Health,
Yes.
what is the position of diabetes now? Can it be demystified, just as we claimed as we were coming to the studio?
So diabetes, the prevalence of diabetes is increasing on a daily. The number of diabetic patients we see on a daily keeps increasing.
Wow.
And this is as a result of urbanization. Like in the past, all this junk food, carbonated drink was not common in the past. But because the urbanization, we now want to live like in the past, diabetes was not common in black people. But now we can see more black people coming down with diabetes because they have now changed their lifestyle.
That's a reality.
Yes, they have now changed their lifestyle, and also the sedentary lifestyle. Most people sit in their office from morning to night, no physical activity, which can actually predispose to obesity and lead to diabetes. So I would say that the prevalence of our diabetes is increasing. We are seeing more of it, and most people are not aware because it doesn't show signs and symptoms early. Most people are not aware that a simple check of just checking your blood sugar can actually save your life and help you to know your status, if you are diabetic or not.
This is your notion. I can conclude that we might not be able to demystify it then, or what? Can it be demystified?
Yes, demystify in the sense is that people should not see diabetes as something that is almighty, that doesn't happen. It's common, it's everywhere. Even your neighbor might be diabetic. So the simple way you can know if you are diabetic or not, or prevent this disease, is to get checked. Just go check your blood sugar, and you know if you are diabetic or not. Because there's something called pre-diabetic state. So when you're in the pre-diabetic state, you can quickly do some lifestyle modification. Yes, you should. Somebody that is above 35 years should at least check their blood sugar at least twice a year. But someone that has family history of diabetes should check it more frequently. And someone that's, let's say, there's something called gestational diabetes. It occurs in pregnant women during their pregnancy because placentas, I don't want to go into the details, they are predisposed to having diabetes, so they have diabetes during pregnancy. So after pregnancy, they can actually develop diabetes. So those people have to check it more frequently. People that are above 45 years also have to check it more frequently.
Let's talk about diabetes patients. What's it like being a patient? And like we started the conversation this morning, it's not a death sentence. So maybe by the time we start opening our understanding of what it means to be a diabetes patient, maybe people can also take precaution to, avoid this illness.
Yeah. So being a diabetic patient, like you said, is not a death sentence. It's not the end of the world. November 14th every year is used to commemorate the World Diabetic Day, to raise awareness, to stop the stigmatization with diabetes, that diabetes is not a life sentence. A diabetic patient can live long. And for someone that is diabetic, I will tell the person to come out and tell them, because you need support, you need family support for this type of disease, because it's a chronic disease that you might have to manage for life. Tell your family members, tell them that you're diabetic, and tell them, know your numbers, because if you know your numbers, then you can control your numbers.
What do you mean by numbers?
Okay, so what I mean by number is that, like I said, there is elevated blood sugar, but there's a level it will get to that you say that the person is diabetic. So there are two tests that can be done. We can either do the fasting blood sugar or the random blood sugar. Fasting blood sugar means that the person has not eaten before the blood sugar is checked. So there is if it is more than 126 milligram per dl, then we'll say that person is diabetic. So below 126, we can say the person is not diabetic. So once the diabetic patient knows that my target is for my blood sugar level to be less than 126, tell your family member, also be involved in your care. Ask your health provider that, okay, what's my number today? What do I need to do better? And for somebody that is diabetic, there's something called diabetic education. It's actually a much more deeper topic, because for someone that is diabetic, there are some lifestyle changes you have to make. Yeah, for example, your diet has to change. You can't eat the same thing that most people eat. And there's a way you portion your food. Like there's something we call the way you divide your plates. Like for example, if you have a bowl of food, you divide it into two. Half of it has to be vegetables and fruit. Then the remaining half, you divide it into two again. Quarter will be maybe your swallow or your carbohydrates. Then the remaining quarter will be your protein.
But certainly not pizza.
Certainly not pizza. Certainly not pizza. Then you have to eat more fruits, vegetables, more fiber. Then you also have to avoid things like carbonated drinks, alcohol, smoking.
Do they have like 8 brackets that let's look at the younger age bracket now, because the old can, there are possibilities, but have there been recent research on the age bracket of people who are most likely to be?
Okay, so diabetes is a disease of young and also of old.
Really?
Yes, because there are different types of diabetes. There is type 1 diabetes, which
young.
occurs
Can we from
from birth.
Wow.
Yes, because there's something called type 1 diabetes.
So a child can be diabetes?
Yes, there are so many children that are actually diabetes, and you see them, they are obese, and their parents are not aware. So if you have an obese child, it's better to just check the child's blood sugar, because the child might actually be diabetic. Because there's something called type 1 diabetes. Type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease where the body immune system attacks the pancreas, which is the organ that produces this insulin that I said is the key. So when it affects it, then the child cannot produce enough insulin. So from childbirth, they're already diabetic.
How do you explain a mother not being diabetes and giving birth to a diabetes child, or it can never happen?
It can happen, but it might be in their family line. The mother might not be, but maybe the grandma or the grandpa might be diabetic.
So when people want to get married, do they need to run all of these tests as well? The wife, just to be sure that nobody has this ailment in the family.
When marrying a diabetic patient, we have to destigmatize it. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with marrying a diabetic patient.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong. It's not a death sentence. It's not a disease that can be transferred directly from the mother to child. And even if the child has a family history, there are some things the child can do to prevent the child from having diabetes, like the lifestyle modification that I talked about. So the child has to be told, don't take carbonated drinks, don't take sweetened drinks, don't take junks, don't take processed foods, exercise
Ironically,
regularly.
it's the parents now that lead the children.
Yes.
When they pick them from school, it's straight to eatery. Every day, mommy.
That's even too far.
Oh.
What's it called? Their lunch boxes in the morning.
Yeah.
They pack
all sorts of junk.
Yes.
Because they don't have time to prepare their food and all those stuff. Of course, you just saw the number on the screen. Before we go, maybe 1 or 2 calls. If you have any inquiry or any contribution or question, you can join the conversation. We are in this together, and that's why we are saying that we are demystifying diabetes this morning on the program, and that's what we've been looking at with our guests from the Ministry of Health in Ogun State. So we're still here. If you want to be part of the conversation, that's the number to call and ask them, and she'll be doing a wonderful job breaking it down for us the way I've never seen anybody done, so to say. I'm serious.
Yes.
The way I've never seen anybody. And of course, make it smiling with it too, to make it look simple, that there's no need for stigmatization. There's nothing to fear about.
Yeah.
If it's with you, it's with you. You just need to manage it.
Yeah.
It's not a death sentence. So, Miriam?
Yes, we're still talking diabetes, and it's very important we talk about the healthcare in Ogun State. I dare like some extra efforts you've put in place for diabetes patients, and there could be a community sort of that has the same kind of patients where when people meet each other, there's this encouragement they get. I've met a couple of them, and it's really beautiful. They tell their stories, but it's mostly online. I do not know if they have in Ogun State. That people most likely, I think we'll have a caller. Thank you, Princess, for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Please, I want to ask, can diabetes be sexually transmitted? And can it lead to stroke?
Can it be sexually transmitted and can it what? We didn't get that.
Speak louder, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Your second question.
Your question again.
I said, can it be sexually transmitted and can it lead to stroke? That's the question.
Can it lead to stroke?
Yes, can it lead to stroke? All right.
So,
thank you, Princess, for calling.
So diabetes cannot be sexually transmitted. It's a non-communicable disease, meaning that you can't be transmitted from one person to another. It's usually it's either genetics or lifestyle that causes it. And diabetes directly cannot lead to stroke, but can predispose to hypertension that can lead to stroke. Yes.
All right, we're talking about the community, the healthcare initiative for diabetes patients in Ogun State.
Yeah, so for the healthcare initiative, recently we just did something in Ogun State called the Project 10 Million, where the aim is to screen 10 million Nigerians for hypertension and diabetes. And in Ogun State, we had a target to screen 350,000 clients for offer free screening. So we offer this free screening in all of our health facilities, the primary health centers, secondary health centers, tertiary, where we screened people for hypertension and for diabetes.
We have a caller. Thank you, Tayo, for joining us this morning.
From away. Tayo, you are on. Go ahead.
I would like to find out if there's a cure for diabetes.
If there's a cure.
Or will it be something that will just be managing? Or is there any cure for it?
All right, thank you, Tayo, for calling us. Did you get the question?
Yes, so diabetes, like I said, is a chronic disease, meaning that it is a disease of progression. There are medications you can use to manage the blood sugar, but it doesn't have a complete cure. You can only manage the blood sugar for the blood sugar to be at the normal range for the fasting or
follow the rules. That's what you say. Follow the rules and you are okay.
And you are fine.
You're okay with your lifestyle. Follow the rules.
These medications, could they be followed traditionally or it has to be medical? Because I know some people that tell you, oh, I have Agbo, I have that.
We have them all over the radio. And one of the things they claim they can treat is diabetes. You are saying it medically that it is only manageable. You can manage it. But they will claim that it is treatable. I know the notion. Modern medicine have with this herbal stuff, but our people must be educated.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. So that's why her question is relevant.
Yes, like you said, people have to be educated, because when you are educated and you know about your problem, then it is half solved. Then you know how to manage it better. So for the herbs, there is no herbs that I know that can cure diabetes. And for herbs, you know, medications are gotten from herbs, but the problem with herbs is the dosage. There's no dosage for herbs. You don't know the particular, yes, you can't measure it. And also, herbs does not have, there's no one component or one compound in herbs. It has multiple compounds, and you don't know what it's doing to the other organs in your body. For medications, they're already studied, and they know the side effects, and they've looked for ways to reduce the side effects. But for herbs, you don't, it might damage your kidney, it might damage your liver.
Let me quickly ask this question too, in relation to herbs. Recently, there have been increase in this Chinese supplements, not only for diabetes and for many. And the problem I have when they claim that they have people who have used some of this stuff and it has cured it, it has given them energy, it has done this. When you ask for authenticity, you find out that those who claim authenticity are those, what do I call it, are those who are agents of the company selling. You don't actually find a doctor telling you, yes, the supplement has worked or something like that. Yet people, they just said, this one will cure cancer, it will do 4 things in a while.
Especially in buses. Have you been to public buses before? You have this person,
they have a whole lot, tablets and flying about.
Yes.
They even have a group. There are groups now, people claiming that they've been using it, it has done this, it has done that, it has done this. And when you say, what, but you find out that these agents who are, that's the way I think anyway, who are only interested in selling and making some, are the ones giving you
false promises.
So you must have, so what's your advice to all this? What's the...
My advice, first of all, is to get education. Know what diabetes is. Like, for example, shows like this, programs like this, listen to programs, and also there is internet. All the information you need is there. Go online, read about it. When you read about it, you would know that somebody cannot just come and tell you that once you take this herb for a week or 2 weeks, then you are cured. It's not possible. It's not possible. So don't allow yourself to be deceived. You can also visit any health center close to you and just ask them, ask questions. They will be very, very happy to answer you. So
I think when you go on the internet, it is the information provided by the manufacturers of those herbs or those drugs that will be there. When you go to check, it has been proven to cure this, to cure that, not actually from medical experts.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, even on the internet, when you go to find out, these are the things you, but anyway, I think education is key, and you just said it, but let's move ahead as we go on the program. Any plans for the day? You said November 14th.
That's tomorrow.
Yes,
yes.
From the Ministry of
So
Health,
what you can do as a person for tomorrow is you can just walk into any health center and get your blood sugar tested. It's a very simple test. Within 5 minutes, you are done. Just get your blood sugar tested and ask questions. What is the normal reading? What am I reading? So you know, okay, if I'm doing well or not. So for fasting, it has to be between 70 to 100 milligram per diem for fasting. And for random, it has to be less than 200 milligram per diem.
Okay, doctor told me, sorry, you look like the commissioner anyway. Dr. Damilola Olanipekun, thank you very much for coming on to the program. And I can assure you that it's been a worthy session. No, there are no dull moments. Even though we ventured into somewhere we didn't understand, you have made it very simple in plain language for the ordinary person, for a layman out there to understand and pick something from. No regret knowing you, and no regret granting this interview with you this morning. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for coming.
All right, we take this break. We'll come back. Miriam is already tickling because it will be time for trending. We'll be back.